Waverley Star worked brilliantly, sprinting home over the final 600 metres. The Japanese and European experts aren't convinced this horse is a genuine stayer, but his trainer Dave O'Sullivan remains confident.
I think if the horse settles and doesn't get running too fierce, I'm pretty sure he'll get the journey.
One overseas expert who believes in the New Zealander is the eccentric British commentator John McCreerick. McCreerick is the king of the betting stands in England, and he reckons Waverley Star is the right tip.
And there were many people, and I know it may be hard to believe to some of you, who were speaking to me before the Bone Crusher debacle, and this morning we hear that the Bone Crusher's better, thank goodness for that, but it obviously won't run, who was saying that Waverley Star was a better bet than Bone Crusher. Now, if that's true, surely 4 to 1 they're offering Waverley Star has got to be a knocking each way bet at least, 1, 2, 3.
But as you'd expect in such a race, the opposition is formidable. The American Flying Pigeon has won 12 races, including the Hollywood Invitation in record time this May. And the grey Yuzaburo, the only Japanese representative from outside of Tokyo, has won 16 of 22, his last 8 in succession. Another Japanese, Rugby Ball, was favoured in the St Leger. He finished third that day, but has won 4 out of 7. And the marvellous French mare Triptych is the only filly to have ever won the Irish 2,000 guineas and has already won 2 Group 1 races this season.
Gee, wouldn't 4 to 1 each way be fantastic? It'll be great, but I just don't think Waverley Star will be 4 to 1 on the Victorian TAB. We'll be checking those dividends very shortly. The record crowd ever for a Japanese race meeting, 169,000. That's a world record. Back after this break, and we'll be going shortly to Tokyo and the big race. Shortly for the running of the 1986 Japan Cup. 14 starters, 7 international horses and 7 local horses. The way it works is that there can be 4 from the United States and Canada combined from North America, 4 from Europe and 2 from Oceania. So a total of 10 international horses, and the rest are made up from the locals. Now let's check the dividends for Wynnum Place and also the double that was run on the last race at Sandown yesterday, the winner being Eastern Classic for today. Now Pseudo Hawk, who was second in the Japanese Derby and the St Leger, is 48.25, 11.15, and he's big on the double, $82. Now Flying Pigeons from the United States, he's a very good horse. He's won 12 races, 11.80, 3.65, and the double, 54. Tommy Way from the United Kingdom, he won the Italian Derby earlier this year. He's had 2 other Group 1 wins, 13.15 and 3.10 and 55. Kishiro King won the Emperor's Cup, the other big race in Japan this year. He's big on the tote, 19.15 and 5.65. The top Canadian filly, Caratine, who has a great record, by the way, on the turf, is 10.45 and 2.95 with 51. Miho Shunzan, who's won the St Leger this year, 6.80 and 1.85. Yuzaburo, the grey, 7.60 and 2.30. He's won his last 8 on end, that horse. We go over the page and we have a look at Triptych, the wonderful mare from Europe, 3.10 and $1 and $14 a double. She's the second favourite. Now Waverley Star's favourite, their odds of 7 to 4. That's $1.40 and 50 cents. With a daily double with Eastern Classic, $5.85. In Jupiter Island, a 7-year-old is $18.75 and $4.60, and he's showing $82 on the double. Rugby Ball's an interesting runner. He was third in the St Leger, but favourite, $13.05 and $3.25, $69 on the double. A Gallop Diner is one of only 2 horses from Japan to have defeated Simboli Rudolph. He's $13.75, $4.60 the place, $69. Alain Milord, who's from the United Kingdom, won the Group 1 Prix von Europa this year on September the 29th. He's also trained by the man who had Dancing Brave, Guy Harwood. He's at $4.80 and $1.85. And the third favourite is Takuro Utaka Ao. That would be tough to say, I reckon, in a fast finish. $3.30 and $1.20. He's won 6 from 10. He's the record holder for 2,000 metres at 158.3 in Japan. And at his last start, he broke the record over 2,000 metres. It's the most interesting complex there. As I said, the world record for any race meeting is 169,000 people. They have a capacity in this race course in Tokyo for 180,000. There are 10 tracks in Japan. At this time of the year, the grass starts to turn a little brown because it's getting very cold. And they've actually painted the grass green for today's race. The Japanese, they think of everything. They take the horses out very early to the barrier. Much different to what we have here in Australia. They're out behind the barrier about 15 minutes before the race. They have sheds built not far from the barrier so that if it's raining before the start of the race, the horses and the jockeys can go under the sheds and stay out of the weather. So they really do think of everything. As I said, we're likely to have a wonderful crowd. I wonder if that record of 2:25.3 will go today. Waverley Star's form looks just absolutely right. His form leading up to the Cox Plate was perfect. He looked unlucky when second behind Bone Crusher. The query with him, I guess, is the 2,400 metres, but his form looks to be just so good in the Fuji Stakes and also in New Zealand that he'll probably get the 2,400 okay. The news from Bone Crusher, as you saw earlier, is good. He'll come back with Waverley Star shortly. They'll go into quarantine, and then hopefully we'll see Bone Crusher at Flemington in March for the Australian Cup. That race now at weight for age, and the intention is that Bone Crusher will come over to Flemington because he goes so very well here in Melbourne, run in the Australian Cup and then be set for his second Tancred Stakes. He's had 5 races in Australia this year and won them all, and they've all been Group 1. Waverley Star, the thought there is that he probably won't come back to Melbourne for the Australian Cup, but he'll go to Sydney for the Tancred. But there is a good chance that we'll see the 2 horses together, and they will be in the Cox Plate in 1987. Okay, we'll take a break now and come back, and we'll be going to Tokyo for the Cup. Or so away from going to Tokyo for the running of this year's Japan Cup. It's a race, as I said, that's worth about 1.5 million Australian dollars. It's hard to get an exact amount because of the changing dollar and the yen, but it's around about $820,000 for the winner. And the Japanese, not only do they like their racing, they like to have a bet. Their turnover this year is $9 billion. That's what it's been estimated at. $9 billion. Only one form of betting, of course, and that's on the tote. And the Quinella in particular seems to be very popular. The track, ideal really, 2,264 metres around, and it's a long straight, longer than Flemington. It's 508 metres, and it really does test those horses that can stay, because there's a big uphill run when they come into the straight, and it tests those horses that have some strength. So there should be no excuses. The best horse often wins. Let's have a look at the Cox Plate again. This race that Bone Crusher and Waverley Star were involved in, the race that had everybody in Melbourne talking about it. It really was a thrilling event. It was wonderful to be there, and let's relive one of the moments there, and we'll just have a look and see how Waverley Star went against the mighty Bone Crusher.
Waverley Star, Bone Crusher's moving up 4 wide around them. Drought the field, but as Waverley Star and Bone Crusher take off. Aberidi hard ridden from Dinky Flyer, the Filbert and Tristram. Here's the 2 mighty New Zealanders at the 700. Waverley Star's taken the lead from Bone Crusher. 2 lengths away, Drought on the fence, Romanada, Society Bay. A length to Tristram, Aberidi, Dandy Andy, drawn coming off the fence from Tristram. Bone Crusher's under the whip, and Waverley Star's drawn a half to 3/4 in front of him. 2 away, Drought, 2 to drawn, Dinky Flyer. Waverley Star's about 3/4 to Bone Crusher. They're both under the whip. 4 lengths to Drought. Then Drawn and Dinky Flyer on the turn. These 2 mighty chestnuts, Waverley Star a long neck. The Bone Crusher draws level. 3 to Drought running on the Filbert. Bone Crusher's taken the lead from Waverley Star. The Filbert running on the Bone Crusher, a neck in front. Waverley Star comes at him. 50 to go. Bone Crusher and Waverley Star, they're going to hit it together. Bone Crusher and Waverley Star, the Bone Crusher. The greatest race I've ever seen.
Yes, it was the greatest race I'd ever seen, and it's great to look back at it. Bone Crusher against Waverley Star. Let's go and join Philip Leishman in Tokyo.
We'd like to welcome now our viewers through the 10 network throughout Australia who are joining us for this live coverage of the 1986 Japan Cup. We greet you with the news that Waverley Star is the most favoured foreign horse representing Oceania today. He looks in magnificent trim. He's paying about $2.85 on the New Zealand tote, and at the moment at about 4.8 to 1 here at Tokyo Racecourse. Keith Hobb, who'll be describing the 1986 running. I've seen the horse a little bit toey at times, but today he looks very relaxed.
Yes, very relaxed, Phil. This is the big thing. We just hope that he can settle in the race. He does race a little fiercely, as we know. He's gone to the post looking extra well, and I know the O'Sullivans say that he's fit as hands can make him. A big betting plunge on the horse. This morning he was at $6.90 on the tote here and came into about $4.80 at the last call, and that came in about an hour and a half, and I do suspect there's a heavy betting here, Philip, from all the Kiwis and the big Australian contingent here.
We'd like to welcome you all now. This is the commentary position here at the Tokyo Racecourse, and as we say, Waverley Star poised, we think, to give Oceania a victory. Owner Russ Hinds is the Australian owner, Dave O'Sullivan and Paul O'Sullivan, the New Zealand trainers, and Lance has the responsibility of guiding that horse around the track today. So they're not far away from a start. They are moving now to the point, which is just beyond the 200-metre point here in the main straight, at around about 300 metres out. The forecast betting at the moment is quite interesting. The favoured combination is number 5 and number 6. That is Waverley Star and also Triptych. So Triptych at the moment, I think, will give you about 9-1 for the Quinella. Waverley Star, Triptych, Quinella.
That's Jupiter Island, Philip. This is a very big horse, and a horse that's been set for the race has only had 2 or 3 starts this year. And of course, that horse there, the Chestnut, and a lovely Chestnut too, is the favourite on the tote here, Sakura Yutaka. Tommy Way, and of course Willie Carson aboard. He's had more rides in the race than anybody else, and there's our hope from Oceania. Waverley Star, and as we said, very, very settled, and ridden by Lance O'Sullivan. L.A. Malord, ridden by G. Starkey, one of the English hopes, and there's Gallop Diner. Gallop Diner actually raced in the race last year, the grey, the big grey, who looked like Baghdad Note to me, and of course he's called Jasabaro, and a real staying type.
Quite interesting last night at a press meeting with the international and local press. They decided that Waverley Star was the choice, the main choice. Second choice appeared to be Miho Shinzan and also Sakura Yutaka. So that's where the betting has been based, and we have seen Waverley Star move from 4th favourite into the number 2 favourite position here for the 1986 race.
Perfect conditions, Philip. I think this is possibly the nicest day we've had here in the 5 years or 4 years that I've been here. And the track is hard and fast. They have the rail out about 10 metres from the inside, further than they've ever been before. Waverley Star just trotting up to the stalls, and they're obviously being called into the starters' hands, and they don't take any time at all in starting these horses.
Keith walked with the course with Lance O'Sullivan the other day, and we had a feeling, Keith, that the victories in this race have come from a position about 3 racing strips out. And I'm just wondering, do you think Lance is going to opt for that sort of position in the race?
Yes, I do. I don't think that any stage that he's going to get trapped on the inside. We've found that walking the track, there's a slight camber to the inside, and if you get trapped in there with a big horse leaning on you, it makes it very difficult to get out. And I think that Lance is going to use the tactics of staying off the fence at all times and moving possibly 3 horses out as he comes into the straight and heads for the post.
So a matter of moments now before we get these horses into line for the running of the 1986 Japan Cup in the vicinity of 2.5 million New Zealand dollars up for grabs. And will it be a victory here for Waverley Star? Certainly Triptych, the English French mare, looks very well. She's been in quarantine all week, as does this horse. He's just sweating up a little bit underneath.
Very interesting here, Philip. These horses, they weigh them. We haven't actually got the weights of the race today, but during the week they weighed Waverley Star and Bone Crusher. I think a lot of people may have lost a lot of bets on this, but it was found that Waverley Star was 506 kilos, as against Bone Crusher, some 40 kilos lighter than Waverley Star.
So the field for the 1986 Japan Cup is about to be called in. A Waverley Star already in the stalls. They're just about set to go. Will it be a first ever victory for New Zealand and Oceania? We'll find out in a matter of moments. To describe the running of the Japan Cup of this year, introduce you to Keith Holt.
Well, only 6 horses to go into the stalls, Philip. Behind the stalls, Jupiter Island, Gallop Diner, and also Sakura Yutaka. About to go in is Miho Shinzan, and there goes the possible front runner, Koshiro King, ridden by Ko Kabi. He won the race last year, and it has been suggested that he may take the lead in the race. The Japanese have been very, very quiet about who's going to be the pacemaker, but in the past 3 years, they've had tearaway pacemakers, but it'll be very interesting to see today just who does take that lead. Sakura Yutaka about to go into the stalls, and that's the last horse to line in the 86 Japan Cup. Waverley Star, beautifully behaved, has drawn barrier 9 and stands up well. The field is set to go. Suda Hawk, the inside gate, flying pigeon from 2, and they're racing in the Japan Cup. And out quickly from the inside, Flying Pigeon, but he's being steadied as Miho Shinzan goes. And I'm right here going the leaders, Kashiro King, as he races down towards the judge the first time. Waverley Star has settled back in behind these as they go to the judge, and it's Kashiro King, and he's going to lead leisurely. About 2 lengths now from Miho Shinzan. Alo Milord worked up from them. Jusabaro about 1.5 lengths off the fence is Triptych, and very wide there is Sakura Yutaka. Back on the inside, Suda Hawk, then followed Waverley Star, settled 3 out and about 4th last. Alongside of it, Flying Pigeon and Tommy Way squeezed on the inside. Rugby Ball bounded round on the outside, then from Gallop Diner. They were followed out by Jupiter Island, and last of all the Canadian Carotene. About 15 lengths first to last, and racing round to lead them now as they get by about the 1800 metres, and still leading Kashiro King about 1.5 lengths on LA Milord. 5 lengths behind these then is Miho Shinzan on its outside. Jusabaro about 3 back then on the inside. Triptych, then followed Sakura Taka, then followed about 1.5 lengths behind these. Rugby Ball on the inside of Gallop Diner. Waverley Stars about 15 to 20 lengths off the leaders. They followed the grey Suda Hawk, then well back in the field Jupiter Island with Tommy Way, and last of all is Carotene. They race over by the 1200, a big rise at this point of the track, and the pacemaker is now LA Milord, just on the tail now of Kashiro King. Kashiro King by that length. 5 lengths away then is Miho Shinzan. Jusabaro comes next, 1.5 lengths. Triptych is settled on the inside then of Gallop Diner. There's Sakura Taki going round wide on the track, going with it Flying Pigeon. Then followed 1 length back Waverley Star. He's about 10 off the leaders now. Then followed 1 length to Tommy Way, and drifting out last is Suda Hawk. They race now 800 metres to go, and the leader is still Kashiro King from LA Milord. Right on their hammer now on the inside is Miho Shinzan, and coming into it very quickly on the outside, Sakura Yutaka. As they come towards the turn, they bunch up only about 8 lengths first to last. Around the turn, 550 metres to go now, and Kashiro King tackled by LA Milord. Starkey making his move. Right in behind them, Waverley Star out wider on the track. Here comes Jusabaro at the 350 metre mark, and now leader is Kashiro King. LA Milord on the outside, Jupiter Island putting in a decent run, and here comes Waverley Star, 3 off them at the 250 metre mark. LA Milord, Jupiter Island are the 2 leaders. Coming after them, Waverley Star late with Sakura Yutaka, but it's Jupiter Island, LA Milord, the 2 English horses down to it. Jupiter Island just in front of LA Milord. LA Milord coming back, but Jupiter Island's beaten LA Milord. Third of the line was Miho Shinzan. They were followed Waverley Star, alongside of it Rugby Ball. Jusabaro was the next horse home, then followed Carotene. Next behind them as they went across was Triptych, didn't fire in the final part of it. Tommy Way alongside of it with Gallop Diner, and last at the post was Suda Hawk. What a go.
Their Waverley Star, after running a great race until the last 200, did fail to stay, missed the place. Unofficially, it looks like Jupiter Island first at $18.75 and $4.60 and $82 on the double. LA Milord will pay $1.85. It's the horse on the inside, and Miho Shinzan $1.85. You can see Waverley Star. Watch how badly he hangs out. He's 3 from the left of screen. He's under the whip now and well beaten. He really did do his best, and when he took a split at about the 200, I thought he might win. But Jupiter Island has done too well. LA Milord was an unbelievable run second because he'd worked so hard, and Miho Shinzan third. Pat Edery has ridden the winner, and Greville Starkey, his great rival in England, has finished second. More highlights and details on Eyewitness News coming up at 6 o'clock tonight. The special double, $82 even. So thanks very much for joining us. The 1986 Japan Cup has gone to a 7-year-old, Jupiter Island.
This production